Day 5 of the RFS Fluid Links Advent Calendar. Shelley Lee, Michelle Nicholson. She's gone by many names on Twitter over the years, but is off and on our little list of Fluid Links, and she has a question, and it's this. How could we make the CBC more like the BBC?
A license fee. There's your answer right there.
A letter.
Get rid of commercials.
Which will never happen. We'll
no.
never. I mean, we have taxes paying for it. Actually, I would assume there's taxes and a license fee in Britain as well, right? It's not just the license fee that props up the BBC. I don't know one way or the other.
It's
for a fact.
the license fee ostensibly, but then of course they have their commercial sales and stuff like that to, prop up the bank accounts.
But if we're talking about purely aesthetically make the CBC like the BBC, yeah. Start a license fee up that funds everything so we get way better stuff because there's just not a lot of money in Canadian TV. There's not a lot of audience in Canadian TV either.
Yeah.
Although I think how many people are in England?
A lot.
60-something million.
So they've got twice as many
63 or
people as us and a way smaller country. So yeah, and a rep for export. Also, they've got this 50-year reputation for exporting good television, which we do not.
Yeah, not as much. Well, hey, we had like Wojak. That was a show, and I'm pretty sure that that other one with the guy wearing the hat and stuff, that one overseas. So
the Beachcombers. Don't forget about that.
Oh, of
so,
course,
but part of the problem is, and I'm sure that somebody who's intimately familiar with how the BBC works could correct me on this, but with our CBC is independent of the government, but whoever the heritage minister does sort of set the sort of tone of the place a bit. And as does management, and they tend to waffle around and follow trends and do a lot of dumb stuff that they just kind of flail with, and I don't think that happens anywhere near as much with the BBC, from what I can tell. It seems a little more monolithic. Am I wrong?
I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of factors at play at the BBC.
I'm sure there are.
Studios at BBC and everything else.
Yeah, I agree, but I just to point out, in Canada, I think a while back, one of the people in start of the CBC was like, "We need to be more like Vice." I'm like, "No, you do not. That's exactly what you do not have to be, CBC." But that's the kind of thing that just kind of becomes a dictum, and it just cascades through the organization, and then they get rid of that and do something else that's stupid.
Yeah, I do feel like CBC is more easily swayed by whoever's in charge.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Like the guy who was in charge of the CBC in 2004, 2005, when they had no hockey, and then they said, "Well, hey, why don't we kick money into this new Doctor Who show, and we'll air it and we'll promote the hell out of it, and then it'll be great. It'll be a big hit for us on CBC." And says, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And then that guy left like the year later, and the next guy or whoever came in said, "Oh, what is this Doctor Who on the schedule?" Basically, CBC's Michael Grade came on and says, "No." Banish it. Let's wait 3 years after the fact to air the 2007 Christmas special and just kill it. I don't care about Doctor Who anymore. We need to be showing Dragon's Den or some crap like that.
And then air it first in French.
And then air it for not even on CBC. So that's what the CBC.
The BBC is like an angry older person, and the CBC is more like this errant teenager who just kind of wavers from one thing to the other.
Basically, and this is a rarity, but hear me out on this. The CBC needs to be more like the BBC by being less impulsive and filled with more bureaucracy. That way.
That's the glory years of the CBC were when that happened.
Yeah, it stays relatively stable, yet you could have little offshoots of creativity here and there because the bureaucracy is so big. The little thing like Monty Python or like Kids in the Hall or something like that will sort of shoot off there and they go, "Oh my God, wow, I don't even know what that is," because there was too much bureaucracy going on to even notice that. And that's when the best stuff is produced, as opposed to, "Hey, let's make more things about hats."
Now, to be fair, the previous Conservative government hated the CBC.
They
did everything it could to make its life difficult. So that also is into play here. Also, we're talking about CBC TV. CBC Radio is a completely different animal and always has been. And has always been held in much higher regard than CBC TV.
Yeah, interesting.
It's a lot closer to BBC radio stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is way closer.
In a lot of ways.
I'll tell you what, the BBC and the CBC are alike, though, and that they both got rid of Marco Polo back in the day.
Well, let's not forget a guy who worked for the CBC created Doctor Who.
Yeah.
What about important questions like how can the CBC make their own version of Don't Scare the Hare?
Don't ever say that. They will do it.
They will. It's a format.
We didn't create Dragon's Den, did we?
No, that's a British thing. British.
Yeah. Okay, because it's always on CBC to the point where I just kind of assumed it was Canadian to begin with, but no, it isn't.
No, it's not. Maybe if they made the new Avengers again, that'd be a step in the right direction.
That was such a disappointment. I'm like, Canada, I don't care.
Well,
I can see that anytime I want.
Starlost?
The Starlost, there you go.
That's the one.
which was made mostly by Americans who happen to be working up here.
Well, it was a CTV thing, I think, for the most part. But
that too. It was a Glenn Warren production, so that's like the little annoying, kind of not so smart brother of CTV.
Which is kind of like what CBC is to the BBC.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Coming back around.